Hello, my name is Mrs. Drudge. I'm the head of history at Priestlands School. I'd like to take you through the details of our GCSE course. History is continuously changing the world around us, and we believe GCSE history is a really good opportunity for students to understand the world that they live in today and how it's been shaped. By studying British history and world history, it really helps them get grounding and an understanding of the world we live in. Employers and universities regard history qualification very highly for its rigour and for the skills that are taught too, so it may be a ticket to a better future. Overall, we study three components: a British element, history around us, and world history. And in total, that covers 5 units that we do over 2.5 years. We start in year 10 with People's Health Unit, looking at Middle Ages up to present day. And here we're studying the living conditions of people in cities and towns and comparing them over time. We're looking at epidemics like the Black Death and cholera and Spanish influenza. What did people believe about those? How did they try to cure themselves? What was the impact of those epidemics? And then look at the role of government and how they've impacted on people's health, looking at things right back to the plague orders, but going on to more modern stories like the NHS and the creation of the welfare state. In the springtime, we go on to the Norman Conquest. It's a short unit of study, but so much happens and the students really enjoy this unit. We begin on the eve of the conquest with Anglo-Saxon England, looking at the culture and society at the time, considering whether it was a golden age. We go on to the story of the Norman conquest in 1066. How and why did that happen? How did William win the Battle of Hastings? And what changes did the Normans make, from castles to feudalism to the Domesday Book? Did life improve under the Normans? Was life harsher under the Normans? What laws did they bring in? What language changes came because of the Norman conquest? And we consider the idea of whether England was annihilated by the Norman conquest, as many historians argue it was. In the summer term, we'll go to Portchester for a day trip. This is our historic environment unit. And we go to Portchester to study the change of this castle over time. It was built by the Romans, and we look at its original features and why it was located where it was, and go on to consider the changes and the adaptations of the castle and how it's been used over time. So, for example, in the Napoleonic War, there were thousands of prisoners kept inside the keep, and we have a look at what their lives were like inside the keep and the conditions for those. In year 11, we'll go on to have a look at America, and this is a really incredible story that students really enjoy. We have the story of the War of Independence and how America expanded and grew to what it is today. We'll have a look at stories like the Gold Rush and the Transcontinental Railroad, the life of cowboys. We'll look at the Civil War, and we'll also look at the lives of the Plains Indians, and also look at that important story, the conflict between white Americans and the Indians over land that will sadly result in the Indians' way of life being destroyed. Our final world study is Nazi Germany. We do this in year 9 in the spring term, and we're considering life in Nazi Germany under the Nazi Party. We'll look at how the Nazis came to power and then their impact on different people groups, from women to workers to youth to Jewish people. What was life like for them in the 1930s? We'll have a look at the outbreak of the Second World War and how that impacted the German people, and that important story of the Holocaust, and also how Germany affected the countries it occupied in World War II. In terms of assessment, we have no course, but there are 3 papers, and they are different lengths. So the first one, paper 1, is our thematic study of people's health and Norman conquest. This is an hour 45 paper, and all of our units have an equal weighting of 20%. So there's 5 units in total. Paper 2 is a shorter paper of 1 hour. That's our Portchester unit. And there's also 10 marks available here for SPAG, spelling, punctuation, and grammar. And our final paper 3 is on America and Nazi Germany. Again, each of those have a weighting of 20%. There are 3 skill areas that are tested, from knowledge and understanding to use of second order concepts like change and continuity, and also their ability to evaluate and analyse historical sources. In the 2 bigger papers, students will answer 3 short answer questions, knowledge questions, 2 paragraph written answers, 2 source questions, and 1 essay. In the Portchester paper, they'll do 2 essays in 1 hour. So history is not about learning facts and information. That's not what the skill is. What we're trying to get students to do is to investigate, to analyse, to learn to communicate, to think critically for themselves, and to challenge ideas on what they hear. Really important skills for the future. We know employers and universities and apprenticeships really value the skills that students learn in their history course. And here's some of the things that you can do with the skills that you've learned, because we learn how to communicate in history, how to analyse, research, problem solve, how to write extensively, how to plan and argue and reach judgments. And those are skills that come across and are valuable in many different industries and obviously at university. So we believe that learning about the past prepares you for your future. If students would like to ask us more questions, and that all the history staff would be happy to help, and please do ask us questions. And thank you very much for listening.